So today we're going to be trying something new, something I've never done. Hopefully it's actually going to work out. We're going to be grinding up meat. We're going to make our own burger patties using a big old brisket and some chuck eye roll. And hopefully I read the instructions right. We're going to make some nice juicy burgers for lunch today using an attachment we got from the KitchenAid. And let's get going. First things first, the gloves. Like I said, we have a nice Packer brisket. It's only about 15 pounds. Actually, based on this, 14.86 pounds. So, what we're going to do with the brisket, the reason we're using brisket, it's a great cut of meat, plus it also has a lot of nice fat that we're going to use, and we want to find the right ratio. So that's why I also have here a handy dandy little scale. We're going to go ahead and take this and cut it down, and personally, the blend that I like is what we call 85-15, 85% meat, lean meat, 15% fat. I think it gives that right amount of juiciness. If you want lean, then you go 93.7, but I'm not going to get so technical. And we're going to use the scale here to kind of measure out. We're going to cut out the fat, cut out the meat, and then measure about 8.5 pounds, because we'll do 10 pounds out of this 15-pound brisket. 8.5 pounds of lean meat, 1.5 pounds of fat. Then we're going to go ahead and take our attachment and make our ground meat. All right, so you can see the way the brisket is actually built is you've got the flat, or the decal, and then you've got the point over on this side. So when you get burnt ends, comes from the point. When you get the most brisket that you're used to, which is those real nice slices that you see, that comes from the flat. This is a great mix of both fatty and lean. So we're just going to start kind of trimming this up, taking some of this fat, which all surrounds the brisket. Now we're not going to be perfect on this because we also consider that the beef itself has, as we know, intramuscular fat. And a lot of that fat that's just between all the layers of meat on the inside, that's going to give some of that juiciness as well. But we need some of this fat, these chunks, in order to make sure that there's moisture in the ground beef. By the way, if you're a butcher watching this, forgive me. I've never taken a butchery class in my life. It's just what YouTube is about. Reserve this over here. I know I cut some, missed this part here, but that's okay. And one of the key things that I learned was that you should have the meat as cold as possible, not frozen, but cold, because when it goes through this, it's going to cause friction, which makes heat, and you don't want to cook the meat while you're grinding. So I've got the beef cut up, our brisket, we've got our lean meat, we've got just the fat. I've got a little scale here that I got at Bed Bath, probably about 12, 13 bucks. I'm gonna go ahead and actually start measuring out. So I wanna get up to about 8.5 pounds. So that's not even a pound. It's gonna take a while. So here we're at about, say, 3.5 pounds over here. Now we're gonna move this over, just make a little bit more room. Sorry, this beef. So actually, our cut up meat comes out to about 7 pounds total. So it looks like I'm actually going to get into the point, cut up a little bit more this beef. Now the point tends to be a little fattier, a little richer, which is fine. So you need about 1.5 pounds. A little more trimming. Perfect. So you got about a pound, about 8.5 pounds of lean meat over here. All right, so now we're actually gonna go with our fat. We're gonna look for about 1.5 pounds. That's great. It's about 1.5 pounds of fat. So, next step, we're going to take our lean, we're going to take our fat, cut it up into smaller pieces, and then we're going to attach and then get to grinding. All right, so next thing we're going to do, we're going to take the meat grinder, which is actually pretty cold now because we put it in the freezer for about 15-20 minutes. We're going to go ahead and lock it in right here. The reason we wanted to put it into the freezer was to keep it nice and cold, because the last thing we want is for any heat to start forming. This is actually going to get hot from all the grinding action, so the friction. So we don't want the meat to cook. So we've got our meat here, which we're going to cut up into a couple of pieces. Smaller chunks. And we're actually going to get it started. And here we go. Ground beef. Through the magic of video editing, as you can tell, our pan grew significantly because we've got a lot more meat. So we're almost done here with the lean part of the meat. Then we're going to get to the fat. And then once that's done, we're going to mix it up. And then we're going to run it through one more time so it really starts to blend together and mix in better. So now we've got our fat. We're just going to cut this up into chunks as well. All right, so now we've got our fat. We're going to go ahead and dump this into the hopper. Start pushing it down. All right, so you can see here we've got all of our fat ground. We've got pretty much really nice big tin full of about 10 pounds of ground meat. We're going to start mixing this up. Get it well incorporated, and then we're going to run it through one more time. So you can see here we've got a nice mix. Drop it right there. And we start again. All right, so we've got all the meat ground up. We've got everything good to go. See, we've got our nice pile of about 10 pounds of ground beef. We're going to portion this out into about 1 pound batches, and going to put them into our sealable bags, seal them up, put them in the freezer. That way they can last a good amount of time. But right now, most important thing, we're going to have some burgers for lunch. Yep, we've got our really hungry teenager behind the camera right now. So you can see we make some beautiful patties. We're going to go out to the grill and get some lunch ready. All right, so we've got the burgers made. Now we're just going to do simple salt and pepper, put it on the grill. Just going to do a little sprinkling of salt on both these patties. Do some fresh cracked pepper. Really nice hot grill. Come on in. So a really important trick, take your patties and you put a little dimple right in the middle. So what the dimple's going to do is actually going to stop it from puffing up in the middle, so you get still a patty and not a big ball of meat. So we're going to let these go, we're going to season them, and then we'll be done in just a few minutes. All right, check these out. Things are coming out great. All right, so we've got our burgers here cooked to about a medium, as the young man likes it. Just gonna go ahead, toss one on. But of course, since he's a growing boy, he wants a double-decker.
Double pounder.
All right, so let's see how this comes out. But just in case, got two other going. One's for me, one's for my daughter. You can guess which is which. And we'll be throwing on some cheese and we'll be good to go. Alright, so we got our burgers cooking up pretty well. This one we're just gonna add some cheese on top. Add it on, it's called a Port Salut. It's similar to a Munster. It should melt really well, nice and creamy. So it's just gonna stay as is. And we are almost ready to go. Alright, so we're good to go on this burger. Drop it up here on our bun. Sort it up. Check how juicy it is in a minute. Alright, so here we go. Fresh home ground brisket burger. Now let's give it a shot. Mmm.